Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Serious Strategy Gamer and we are returning to a strategic bomber run in Hearts of Iron 4, playing as the United Kingdom. Of course, we are fighting against the Germans. It's early 1940, but just now the Italians have also declared war on the Allies. So things aren't necessarily looking great. I think we are doing fine over here in sort of Northern Africa, but over here in Eastern Africa, our forces might just not be really sufficient to take on the Italians over here. Let's see a while. Maybe we can create some local breakthroughs over here as time goes by. Also, Norway has just been attacked by the Germans, so things aren't exactly looking good, as they historically didn't for the Allies at this point in time. So let's see what's going to happen. Over here I'm just going to restart the game and talk a little bit about the Battle of Helgoland Bay. That was of course the topic in the last series. What's going on over here? I think nothing really. Right, so as we said last time, the British really didn't take it well. There were quite a couple of aircraft being shot down on the British side. That wasn't really what they had planned for at all. And it was very clear to the British that these kinds of losses would not be sustainable at all. So in that regard, you know, clear loss on the British side. Ooh, there goes the declaration of war against Denmark. Not a big surprise there. And from the UK side, it didn't lead quite to the degree of questioning that maybe it should have. So from the British side, they did wave it away a little bit, but they still did. It sort of was the first time that they really considered, wait a minute, this type of air attacks of undefended bombers just doesn't seem to be working out extremely well. So what's going on over here? Is there anything that we can do, that we should be doing? You know, come on guys, can you join up, please? The 12th Division here is not going to do it without you. Okay, yeah, that looks more promising there. Right, so we can also think about attacking down there. So where was that? That's over here. So just these guys there? No, we can't really flank them. Okay, fine. Lots of battles over here. Italian light ships, some French submarines. Where is our first carrier group? It's down here. Alright guys, can you move up towards Alexandria? Yeah, and you're coming up this way. That's great. Yeah, I like it. Good. Nice. Right. More naval stuff. It's not big stuff over here. Yeah, mostly small things. That's okay. Ooh, better radar installations. That's nice too. So it is 1940. You know what? I think it is time to go for better AA artillery here. And that's going to be alright. Good. We also need to, in terms of construction, I do think we want to build up our radar installations over here. And that does have indeed very high priority. So let's make sure that that's going on. We're still bombing over here. And one thing that we can actually see, I do think it does make some difference that we're doing that. So if we go over here on the intel ledger, you can see we've defeated about 12 military factories of them over here. So they are not contributing to the war effort over there. So that's nice, because that's almost 10% of their overall production capabilities. And that's just in beginning of 1940. Our capabilities, of course, will increase over time here. So I'm very happy about how this is going so far. So that's actually very nice, I think. We might actually also think about trying to defeat not just their factories, but maybe also their fuel refineries, because they do have a couple of targets or potential targets over there that I think will be very valuable. Okay, you guys are over here. That's nice. Can I take one of you and ask you to be defending Oslo itself? I think that would be great. And then I'm going to take one more from you guys, and I'm going to ask you guys here to... You know what, let's do defend Kristiansand with one of you. And the last remaining guy over here, you are going to defend Stavanger. Like so. That's fine. Yeah, and then we've got no division over here. That's alright, we can just delete that. So you guys are moving out. That's A-okay. You know what, you guys, you're going to Oslo. Yeah, just do that quite quickly. I think that's going to be alright. There we go. It would be fantastic if we can hold on to Norway. That would be nice. Notice that the Germans have stopped over here a little bit. The Italians are still a problem over there. That's alright though. But we are pushing back the Italians over here, so that's definitely quite nice as well. You guys are moving over here. Can you just sort of attack through there? That would be fantastic. You guys are moving down there. Well, that's interesting. Also, we lost a convoy over here. Not a big deal, I think. Lots of ships over there. How about, have we gotten our ships over there yet? I don't think so, no. Still alright. Yeah, over here everything is fine as well. Seems like we have been pushed back here a little bit. But all in all, that doesn't seem to be too bad if we can expose them to counterattack there a little bit more. I think that's going to be alright. Yeah, nice. Good. Okay, attacks against Saarbrücken there are intensifying. And we've got our new level of heavy bombers, so that's very nice. So what's the big difference over here? A lot more range, that's nice. Air defense goes up, that's good too. Agility goes up a little bit. Air attack goes up by a lot. I mean, these guys are really, really effective at defending themselves. So that is super nice. And strategic bombing goes up. Production costs get up just a tiny bit. So yeah, really the Avro Lancaster is the nicest aircraft that we can think about, really. We're probably going to need to buy quite a bit more aluminium, but you know what, I think that's fantastic. That's a very good aircraft over here. So yeah, that does probably settle the aircrafts that we're going to use for, well, not quite the remainder of the war, but still quite a long while for now. I think the next upgrade is going to be 1944, so yeah, that's going to take a while. Of course, going to probably research it a bit earlier, but for now I think that's going to be alright. We could research better depth charges there. Don't think that's really required for now. Would like to do some of these things. I would like to increase our land doctrine, but we can't really do that for now. Anti-tank, improved artillery upgrades, that might be decent as well. We are not going to use tanks. Could use either of these things here, that would be nice. And these things are of course quite good as well. Yeah, I think, you know what, straight out soft attack, that's pretty nice. And of course, let's look at our strategic bomb situation. So we are producing 35 Halifax factories here, or using 35 Halifax factories to produce that. Let's do modify the Lancaster. I don't think the strategic bombing here, I think this is such a small benefit. This is just, you know, 4% increase. It just doesn't seem to be worthwhile to me. Range, I think we are fine. 3,500 kilometers, that's pretty nice. And in terms of the engine, yeah, it's going to give you slightly better agility. That's okay. Let's do increase the reliability quite a bit so that we're not losing quite as many to air accidents, but that's fine. We don't need to do much more than that, I think. So that's okay. And then we're going to, of course, change that. That's going to drop our production from 3 per day to quite a bit less, but yeah, just about a third of that. That's also due to the fact that we're not nearly getting as much aluminium as we need. Yeah, 4 more factories that we do need to expand on buying aluminium for now. But what can we do? This is definitely going to be the best aircrafts that we have. And I want to do that slightly as we did with the other guys, so that we are taking... So this is all of our strategic bombers, right? We've got 1,000 of these, and we don't have that many in reserve, do we? This is fairly stable, our reserves of heavy fighters. Now our reserves of strategic bombers are slightly better, and I think that might warrant to set up one more group over here of 200 aircraft. So yeah, let's try to do that. I'm going to grab you guys over here, and I'm going to ask you to be high replacement priority, and I'm going to ask you guys here to be not a regular air wing. How can I do that? But indeed an elite air wing, so that you are only reinforced by the new stuff, and I think that's going to be fine and fantastic. Yeah, so you have now the highest priority there, and that's fine, and you guys don't. Okay, so you should be the first to receive the Lancaster, and I think that's nice. And you guys are alright. Let's say up-to-date attacks on this area over here. Strategic bombing, and of course we are also going to go for military factories and fuel refineries, so that should be nice. Good. Alright, here we go. We could of course also try to attack Denmark, or sort of northern Germany over here, and try to support Denmark a little bit in that. It wouldn't be the worst idea actually, I think. By the way, let's briefly check on whether that did make any difference here with the heavy fighters. So you guys over here are slowly starting to get the new models. I think that's fantastic. You guys really shouldn't. Well, you're receiving some of them. That's curious. I thought due to the fact that you are getting more guys over here, you know what, you can also be prioritized here because you've got a ace pilot, and I think that's nice. Yeah, great. Alright, let's resume that. So, how are things in the winter of 1940? In the winter of 1940, it's, of course, historically the phony war period. The Low Countries are not yet in the war. Germany hasn't attacked them yet. So the front line is fairly quiet on on the Western Front. So that is considered as something that is completely weird by at least the Western parties. And Bomber Command isn't, of course, neutral in all of that. They think that, you know, they are supposed to be the guys that are still conducting attacks, and they're not quite doing that to the degree that they can. There's the whole embarrassment of all of the situation in the Helgoland Bait and you know, in the German area there. So things aren't exactly looking up for them over there. So what are they going to do to change that? And there is not that much that they can do, but there are a couple of things. And one of the things that they do is they go on a leaflet campaign over the Ruhr area. Not sure whether they're going over Frankfurt, but they're going to German cities and they're basically dropping leaflets. And today, this period is often really ridiculed. It's, you know, what are they thinking? They're not going to drop a couple of things there and suddenly the Germans are going to give up. But, you know, in defense of the people back then, they didn't quite know that. First of all, the British misjudged German morale quite dramatically. Before the war, so even in the last years before the war, even in 1938, 1939, their agents in Germany, speaking of which, do pretty much feed them the idea that Germany is close to rebellion, that people are fed up with Hitler, and that therefore they want to get rid of the whole regime and re-establish something that is more democratic. And that's a very nice idea, and I see why it's tempting from the British perspective, because A, it would rid them of a problem, and B, it certainly reflects their own feeling towards the situation, because they have been so frustrated by the whole affair, and by their, you know, repeated attempts to make things better, that, you know, this is something that they quite readily tend to believe, and maybe, oh, this is very nice here, three UK divisions are being encircled over here. That, of course, is fairly nice information. You guys are supporting that attack. You guys are supporting that. You don't actually need to physically move in there. Just do support that. Fantastic. Nice. You're doing that as well. You know what? I don't think you need to do that. I would prefer, actually, if you could capture all of this territory here. Yeah, I think that's nice. Good. Anyone else over here? You guys are defending over there. That's okay, too. Yeah, and they are gonna lose. Nice. Good. Let's move up over here. Sort of along the coast, please. So, first of all, it's easy to misjudge morale. It's what their agents tell them, but it's, of course, as we know now, it's not really the case. The Germans at this point in time are more or less elated. The affair in Poland, from their point of view, has gone fairly nicely. It wasn't looking too bad for them. And honestly, they don't feel the pressure to really surrender. So, or at least rise up and get rid of the regime. So from their perspective, this isn't going to work very well. So that's the one thing. So it's easy to misjudge morale. You don't quite know. You never know what's going on in a closed society like that, and just how easy they will be to convince. So, you know, I think it's understandable, at least. I think it's understandable that this is something that they would try to do. That they would at least not be too... to me, it's not that surprising. Let's just say it like that. So I think it's quite understandable that they are trying to do that. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is, there's a psychological element to that, and let's get into that in a second. In a flagrant disregardment of the 1927 Tangier Protocol, Spanish troops have entered the Tangier International Zone as what can only be described as an occupation force. Despite calls by Spanish nationalists for the outright annexation of the territory. The Spanish assure us that this is simply a temporary wartime measure and that the city will be returned to its pre-war status afterwards. So, that's where exactly? Casablanca, Oran, Jesus, where is it? Oh, down here, I think. So their promise is good enough for now, or we don't really have the political power, but we're definitely not going to engage in a war. So, you know what, for now, I think we're going to have to accept that this is not going to be a big change over here. Okay, you know what, you guys, I think since we have taken over these airfields over here, what we can do is ask you guys here to be at least on a strike force mission. And we are going to ask you guys here to be operating in these two areas. And that is going to be good enough for me on the naval side here. I think that's okay. Right, what we also should do is probably grab at least one of our air fleets. Not the strategic bombers, just one of the fighters here. It's not nice to divert them from that important battle. But let's get them over here and let's have you fly over North Africa on an interception and other missions. So we are reducing the air superiority here a little bit, and that should be fun. Jesus, look at this. 2 battleships. This is a very big battle here. Very big naval battle, and I'm very happy to see that the French are actively engaged in that. You guys, are you going to attack over there? You see, I never quite know why sometimes they just, they are docked, they don't really do anything. Your organization is high. You should sally up over there. That is definitely... We've definitely spotted something over there. You know what? Okay, let's get over there. And then let's try to start a battle over there. I think that's going to be okay. Right, let's try to circle around over here. Maybe we can get these guys there to surrender. So, the other psychological element to the attack on... or to the leaflet campaign, is that it's supposed to demonstrate to the Germans that they are vulnerable. So for the first time, it really shows that the German cities are in reach of British bombers. They're not dropping bombs for now, but it's certainly clear to the German population, or at least that's the thinking of the British, that they could. That they could at any time, and that therefore the Germans themselves are quite vulnerable to attack. Yes, they have a decently built-up army. Yes, they won in the East. But they must certainly be feeling very frightened, because at this point in the war, still the thinking is there are going to be mass civilian casualties once the bombing starts. And of course that is going to happen at a later point in time. But for now, the thinking is that, if cities are going to be attacked, the war could be over in hours. And that has certainly been borne out by what at the time was experienced as the attack on Warsaw in the early days of the war. So the reports coming back from Poland seem to indicate that an aerial attack on a city is not going to have just massive effects. It's gonna have effect that could potentially end the war. That is not quite the case, but it is certainly... Okay, yeah, I think we are going to refit you, because that is going to give us quite a big deck size here. So yeah, let's create the variant over here. I think that's fine. Good. We are a little bit short on resources here. Yeah, aluminium. As always, it's always aluminium. Let's buy more from the United States then. That's fine. Right. So the leaflet campaign is supposed to hammer that point home, and all of the pre-war thinking that went into... How's this here still Italian? No, it's French, isn't it? Oh dear God. So yeah, at this point really the thinking goes, the British population was certainly worried about air attack, and it's tempting to think that the Germans would be worried about that as well. But in effect, the leaflet campaign just doesn't really demonstrate anything. It just doesn't. To the German side, it feels more or less like, okay, there's not that much of a danger going on. from this aero campaign. Really, they're just dropping leaflets, so it sort of has the opposite effect of what was intended. It doesn't show that the Germans are exposed to danger. It gives them a sense of security, certainly unwarranted extent of security, but nonetheless that is what they take away from that. So that's the one thing. The other thing is it's starting to expose some of the German problems, some of the Allied problems that they're going to have in navigating over Germany. So these are attacks that are often conducted at night, so these are not daylight attacks. Doesn't matter, you don't need to be very precise to drop some leaflets. You don't need to hit a specific factory or anything. So they realize that, you know, navigating over Germany at night over hostile territory is something that is actually challenging, and that it hadn't, you know, this was not something that had at any point been really considered. You know, still very nice ratios over here. Nothing that had really been considered before the war, and there wasn't really that much trial and error in that regard. So it's quite interesting to see that that just never was tested rigorously, and now it's proving, quite surprisingly, to be quite a big problem. So it really shouldn't be, but it definitely at this point is. So yeah, interesting factor, I think. What do we want to do over here? Yeah, I always like speed. You know what, let's go for speed. Even though our army definitely isn't built up around speed, but still it's going to be nice to have sort of a ground offensive capability here that can at least push them back a little bit, and that might be what we can do over here. Can you sort of go through here? Right, that should be nice. Okay, counterattack over here, but I think it's very localized, and probably, yeah, as we are getting more troops there, that should be okay. And hopefully some of you troops are now capable of overtaking their retreat. That would certainly be very nice. Okay, guys, do run up to their front line. So it's nice to see that Italy is being kicked back over here in Northern Africa. In East Africa over here things aren't quite as great, but I think we are more or less stable, so that's nice. We do have some unassigned divisions over here. Well, that's okay. Let's assign you towards this. I think that's going to be okay. Right, there we go. Just small battles over here. Nothing really big, so I think that's okay. Yeah, and that line is still holding. Naval rearmament done. That's also nice because it does give us some more air capabilities. So all of that is pretty good. Don't think we need anything over here. Development in Canada, I mean, all of our guys, their development is nice, but not really quite that important. Anti-submarine warfare technology. It would be very nice. I would also like to build up some light cruisers. As some of you guys know, I'm very, very fond of light cruisers. Naval mine laying, honestly, that's really not that important. Chief of Staff is also quite useful, I think. Aircraft production group surprisingly isn't, even though we are very heavily focused on air, because this is just going to give us benefits towards normal fighters. And that's not quite what we're doing here. So, destroyers or light cruisers? Let's go for some light cruisers. I do want to develop a new model there. So, everything over here is okay. You guys are finishing your refurbishments. Home Fleet does by now have mostly modernized battleships, so that's fantastic. Got all of these light cruisers and heavy cruisers that are around over here. Got a lot of guys that are being repaired over here, but that's fine, I suppose. Are you guys not repairing? Weird. Alright, mostly you're fine. You know, what's that? Okay, that's just the heavy cruiser that could be updated. These guys, I think, are all fine, so we don't need to upgrade them. Nothing that I really want to do over here. I mean, we could form an update of these guys over here, the EFG design. Let's say better torpedo launches. Let's say better torpedo launches down here. Let's say better AA. Let's say dual purpose main guns. Let's say better fire control systems. Let's say better sonar. Engine, we're of course not going to change that. Let's say another dual purpose gun over here. I think this was the anti-submarine warfare thing, right? So let's keep that, and let's do another dual purpose gun over here. So What would that do? It would decrease torpedo attack, but just a little bit, honestly. Depth charges would go up, AA would go up dramatically, and light attack would go up very significantly. The cost of this would be nearly half the production cost of a new one, though, so... I mean, still, just like 5 times better AA, double the light attack. This would be a huge boost. And we could think about not doing some of these upgrades, right? We could think about not upgrading the anti-submarine warfare capabilities at all, and just think about something like this. Well, what about better radar, though? It's fairly expensive, but also the detection capabilities would be nice. Yeah, but I don't think it's that important for light ships. So, you know what? Let's ignore that for a second over here, and let's simply build up a couple of convoys. I think that's always just a nice thing for some of these capabilities. Right. So, navigating over Germany. Ooh, Denmark is in Mexican oil nationalized. This is a fairly bad result for us. So, fait accompli, there's nothing that we can do. We could issue an embargo. That wouldn't be really horrible. We could try to go against them a little bit more aggressively, but I don't think we can realistically attack Mexico. So that's not something that we can do. So something that we then definitely do need is more and more oil. So firstly, you guys are not quite delivering on your promises, so we're going to cut that over there. And we're going to ask more from the Netherlands over here. And let's briefly look at the situation over here. So we are producing 7.7 and we are using much more than that. So, well, frankly, I mean, let's do buy some oil from Iran, primarily so that no one else can. And you know what, we are also going to ask the UK here for a little bit. It's going to take a lot of oil to buy that, but I think that's fine. Decisions available, the Danish, we can support them. Not for now, we don't really have the political capital, so I think that's fine. We don't really need to do that for the moment. Germans are over here, that's threatening, but not the end of the world. They haven't yet crossed into Germany. So let's see what's going on over there, but that's fine for now. We are still kicking the Italians out of the lands over here. They don't even have any port anymore, due to the French actually, who are already in Tripoli. So that's nice to see. Let's do attack over there. And let's support with you guys. You are moving up there, that's nice. You guys are moving up all the way over there. That's okay too. And let's get over there in this air base as well. Yeah, and that's very nice. More war support, always a fantastic thing for us. So yeah, great. And up over here, I suppose we are very soon going to see some... Yeah, we are also seeing some army experience, which is nice. And that it has, of course, been relatively weak points so far. So yeah, it's nice to see that we are winning over here, even though it's horrible to see that that much territory is going to the French. Nevertheless, that will help us down here, as we are shifting some resources there, and that I think is fine. Good, very nice. You guys do get up there. Okay, you've done that already. Okay, fine. Yeah, let's just squeeze them out of this area here, and that I think is fantastic. Nice, good. And that is the last guy over there. I just need you to come into there. Just one of you. Thank you. Fantastic. Let's take all of you guys. That's all of you. You're all going to stop, and then you're going to reshift, and that's fine. Yeah, except some of you are just walking, which is not nice. Okay, don't. Okay, can I do that this way? Just hit B and then bring it down here? I think I can. No. That was exactly the wrong way around. So let's try that again. Alright, doesn't quite work that way. Okay, you guys. Strategic redeployment down here. Fine. You. Strategic redeployment down here. Don't really care where you're going exactly, but after that it should be fine. Good. Another light cruiser sunk over here, the Lubeck. Okay, that's nice. And just some small stuff over here. Yeah, just a couple of convoys. No real breakthrough in in Belgium yet, so that's nice to see. And yeah, definitely all of this done down there, so that's very, very nice indeed. Ooh, 3 light cruisers. München, Hamburg, Königsberg. And the Z11. Fantastic. Very, very nice results over here, fools. Good. I like it. I very much like it. Okay, how's our research doing? Just 5 days until 5 fighter escorts. That is nice. How are our reserves looking? Strategic bombers, I think that's going up slightly over the last couple of days. At the very least. Yeah, I think the stockpiles are going up, so that's nice. So we're definitely not losing more than we can replace. And I don't know whether that's true for the Germans as well. Because even though we are losing like, if we adjust that, that's probably going to be 100. If we adjust that, that's going to be 50. So let's call that 150, maybe 160 aircraft or equivalent aircraft. Whereas these guys are losing 400. So even if these 400 are mostly going to be old aircraft, I think we're doing fine over here. On the other hand, the Italians have now joined up as well. So let's briefly take a look at the intel situation over here. So the Germans have how many aircrafts as far as we know? 1.5 thousand. So that's down by 500 aircraft. I think we are beating them. And that's pretty nasty. We've also destroyed 18% of their military factories, even though we've also shifted our attack on the oil factories. And you can see they effectively do not have any oil factories here anymore. So I think that is a fantastic result over there. You know, but what to switch it up though a little bit at least. Don't know why we have destroyed some of the. Well, you know what? Let's keep it over here. I think that's great because it's also going to give us a little bit of air superiority for fights like these, where we have now air enemy superiority. So that's nice. I think that's okay. So compared to the historical situation, it's definitely not working out as we expected before the war. That there would just be that very short, almost nuclear exchange, but it does seem to be bearing out our little strategy over here. So I'm very tempted to see how Germany is going to last through 1940 here. Whether they're really going to see much of downer here. We can actually check. You know what? Last thing we're going to check here is, so with 18% of the factories destroyed, that means that they have only about, let's say, let's call that 74 or something. 70, let's say 75, just to sort of round it up. So they have less military factories in operation than we do. So that's fantastic to see. That's a good result for early 1940. There's still France, and France is going to fail at some point. So I don't have high hopes for them. And you know what? Probably in summer we're going to withdraw a little bit here. I don't want to really overwhelm Germany just by supporting France. But you know what? So far so good. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Do leave a like, and I hope to see you around next time. Bye bye.